The professor is an extremely important person in Splatoon's lore despite never actually showing up in the game. We don't really even have a name for the character, but they're just simply labeled as a professor by the game and the community. But who is the professor? What connections do they have in the game, and what purpose will they have in Splatoon 3? Now, I may be going over some stuff that you guys already know in this video, but please stay with me because I have a few ideas and thoughts of my own that I want to share along with some stuff that you may already know. In Splatoon 1, the professor doesn't really have a really big role. All they really are is the person who cryogenically froze Judd, but we do have a few sunken scrolls talking about them in the first game. The scrolls show a photograph of a human with Judd. This human is most likely the one we know as a professor. I say most likely for reasons I'll explain shortly. We know that humanity in Splatoon's world was more advanced than we are now. According to the first art book, there were at least 5 major world wars and a ton of civil wars that happened. So because of that, we can also assume that science has also advanced over the many years. In the final war, a nuclear bomb was launched that resulted in the ice caps melting and human society just being wiped out. The professor, shown here with Judd, attempted to save the two by cryogenically freezing them. At least this is probably the professor. This character looks a little bit different than the professor we saw in the sunken scroll. It could just be the art styles, and you can't even see the professor that much in the sunken scroll, but they just look like different people to me. I assume they're both just different renditions of the same professor if I'm trying to be logical, but I really can't shake the fact that these two people do not look the same. In the 27th scroll, you can see Judd being sealed into the pod, and the pod was made to stay sealed for 10,000 years. Most likely, the professor is sealing Judd away. They even say, "Goodbye, my perfect little kitty cat. May your meows echo through the ages." That line is a little interesting to me because the professor talks as if they're gonna die themselves. The art book shows that they also have a pod. Despite that, the art book also shows a skeleton that looks like the person from the previous panel. I take that as confirmation that the professor is dead, but the comic does just say kinda serious at the top. Some may say the professor isn't actually dead and this is possible proof, but that makes me question how many things we should believe then. An example would be the 5 World Wars. How do we know that that's true if it's just from the kinda serious art book comic? Personally, I think that the 5 World Wars things is true, and a bunch of stuff can be confirmed by other sources, but there are some things that actually don't add up from the comic. And I'm not saying that the comic here isn't canon, it's just some stuff is a little bit iffy. In the 26th scroll in Splatoon 2, we can see only one capsule. This is a capsule that Judd was held in. If the comic was 100% accurate, wouldn't there be another capsule beside it like it's shown here? I'm not saying the professor is alive, as I personally would prefer humans to not just straight up be in Splatoon, but it is a possibility, I suppose. The professor also seems to be a good person. Well, maybe one that just has good intentions. In the Sunken Scroll 27, he says, "Oh dearest Judd, please forgive me for all that I've put you through." This scroll is a bit important as it shows the professor regrets what he did to Judd, because apparently he's done some experiments to Judd, giving him immortality, which kinda sucks. He obviously feels some remorse for what he did. He's not a terrible person. In that same scroll, he even says, "You may find yourself alone." Was this the professor saying that he himself may not make it, or that there may not even be a society for Judd to integrate into? Personally, I'm not sure. This is a really, really hard thing to think about because I want to believe the comic where it shows that he also has a pod, but also I kind of don't think that part of the comic is actually canon. Speaking of the professor being a good guy though, we have to talk about Tartar. Tartar was an AI created by the professor to transfer human knowledge onto the next sentient species to make sure they didn't make the same errors as we did and kind of build up their society. However, as we know, Tartar went haywire and ended up massacring tons of people who ended up taking his challenge. This wasn't the professor's intention though, obviously. All he wanted to do was help any future civilization, and Tartar just kind of messed that up. Like I said before, the professor has good intentions, it's just nothing really ended up working out that well. Other than Judd, I guess. Judd like went through a bunch of crap, but I mean, Judd was pretty helpful in Splatoon's lore, and still is. When Tartar's defeated, he says, "Professor, our reunion beckons," which would be a very strange thing to say if the professor was still alive. Personally, I am on board 100% with the idea that the professor is no longer here. I don't want humans to be in Splatoon, like, in the game. Maybe, like, the professor's inventions or other human stuff shows up, but not humans themselves having any, like, meddling in Inkling society. Speaking of which, some people believe that Mr. Grizz is the professor or a product of the professor. Why? Well, a big reason being the line, "ready to join something bigger than yourself," being used by both Grizz and Tartar. Not that exactly, but something along those lines. Now, normally, that would be a very cool connection to see, but that is not canon, even though it shows up in the game. The only canon version of Splatoon is the Japanese version. Many things change during translation, like jokes are added or removed, new phrases being thrown in, and just stuff being changed completely. Many things change. The connection between Mr. Grizz and Tartar are absent in the Japanese version. This means the connection was never meant to be there. That's just what the translators thought would carry over and sound the best. The English translation team aren't most likely kept up to date with future plans for Splatoon games and lore, so stuff like this is bound to happen, and I highly doubt the English localization team knows more about the lore and would say more stuff than the Japanese version. Is it possible the professor has anything to do with Grizzco? Sure, I guess it's possible, but is there any proof? No, not really. Perhaps the professor has something to do with Alternia? It seems like humans definitely played a part in this. You can even hear English numbers being counted down in the trailer, which is kind of big because that's not the Inkling language. That is straight up English. The professor was seemingly intelligent and maybe helped with this stuff. Nobody can say for sure because we don't have that much to go off of with the professor. There is barely any information about him out there. Alright, well that's all I really have to say about the professor. Please leave any thoughts or theories you guys may have about them in the comments below. I'm sure there's more information out there, but that's just all I could really find, and honestly I've been working on this script for like 2 weeks, so I think I may as well get it out there, especially because holy crap, my channel has grown tremendously, like a heck ton recently. Like, I hit 500 subscribers a few days ago, and like, what? That's insane. I never expected this channel to do that good. I seriously just made this because I am like a Splatoon fanboy, and I just wanted to talk about the lore and other stuff that interested me. Thank you guys so much for supporting my channel. I get so many nice comments from you guys, and honestly, you guys help me so much. I know I said that last video, but gosh, you guys are amazing. Rassica's commented on my last video, which made me freak out because I love Rassica so much. Like, all of my favorite content creators are commenting, and oh my gosh, I'm so happy. Rizurone commented again, like, what? This is crazy. Hopefully I can get a video out by next week. My college has started up again, so I am gonna be a little bit busier, and I'm not gonna be able to make as many videos. I know I haven't made that many videos anyway, but it'll definitely probably slow down. I'll still 100% try my best, but it's hard to balance this channel and work and college. I'll try my best though. Anyways, thank you guys for listening, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. I still don't know what to say at the end, so yeah.